Oh, really great to be here. I think the first thing I'm going to do is put on my emergency management dad hat, emergency preparedness, and tell you guys that of all of the wonderful things that are happening in technology, none of it matters if we're not resilient. And so as you are thinking about technology solutions, please be also thinking about how can these solutions also be resilient, because a major earthquake is going to disrupt the thing that all of this requires, this thing called electricity that we all kind of rely on a little bit. So whatever great ideas are out there, be thinking for what is your backup plan for all of this, as well as your cybersecurity plan. These are a couple issues that we keep us up at night at the Division of Emergency Management. So thank you very much for letting me be here. I'm the Public Information Officer for the Division of Emergency Management. We are the lead disaster response agency for the state government of Utah. We have counterparts in all of the counties and cities around Utah as well, and we're charged with 4 essential things: preparedness, response, recovery, and mitigation. As the Public Information Officer, my job is to help get the public the best information they can so they can make the right decisions for themselves in an emergency. We often say, get the right information at the right time to the right people so they can make the right decisions. The other thing that I do is I help tell the story of a disaster, because I want people to have an accurate idea of what are the responders doing so that they can still have confidence in their government. The less confidence that is out there, the more challenging it is to actually do these functions. And so we like to explain to people very clearly, what are we up against when we're responding to a natural disaster? Now, I made this a very plain title, Government Drones in Emergency Management. I was thinking today I would probably rename my title, We're the Government, We Have Drones, and We're Coming For You. That sounds a little bit better. We're coming for you in a good way. So we're going to talk to you about a few of the ways we're coming for you. All right, there's my contact information there. It'll be there one more time. Feel free to contact me if you have any drone-related questions for government. We're trying to be a resource for other government agencies that are starting to launch these programs. How the FAA feels about drones. Any guesses? About like that. Yeah, this is my favorite emoji. Anyone else love this one? The scared to death emoji? I love this one. Yeah, I read an article in Wired magazine last year that said 1 million people are getting drones for Christmas and the FAA is terrified. Now, I had the fortune of meeting one of my friends from the FAA who confirmed to me, no, we're not terrified, Joe. But they are extremely concerned, because as soon as you get something that shares airspace with manned aircraft, there's a potential for a problem there. And we do not want any of those problems at all. So the first thing that I like to tell everybody out this is we're going to do this, we're going to do it well, and we're going to do it safely, because we don't want to do anything that interferes with any other aircraft out there. One of the other reasons that the FAA and the rest of us could be concerned are fire seasons. And we've noticed in the past few years, in fact, we had a fire in southern Utah this year where aircraft were forced to land at least 4 times without dropping their retardant loads in the correct location. Because it turns out that an airplane that takes off with a fuselage full of retardant can take off just fine, but it cannot land because the stuff is too heavy for the aircraft to land with it, so they have to drop it somewhere. And when you're dropping it somewhere you don't intend, you just flushed $32,000 down the drain. We don't like that very much, and so there's a huge movement among the public information community every time there's a fire to push this message out. If you fly, we can't. So if there are any of my drone hobbyist friends out there, please do not go for the glory shot of the aircraft dropping retardant. The picture is not worth the safety. And we do have very credible evidence that the drone sightings that happened this year during the Saddle Fire resulted in that fire growing and costing government and the public essentially more money. So if you fly, we can't. Please tell your friends or your kids, whoever those people are, who have drones. So that's my thing. Although I should tell you, there is software out there. There's some great companies that are coming up with some cool solutions about drone detection, where you can set up a geofence and the system can essentially hack a drone's its operating system, and it will tell you, as the geofence operator, what model of drone is it, what kind of transmitter does it have, and where is the person operating it. So that was actually a system that was just demoed last week up in Box Elder County at a test and training site that we're creating for drones in the state of Utah. So the other reason that we might be a little bit concerned, could you click on this one? Nice, beautiful wedding video, wonderful location, bride-to-be walking around, aerial shot, and there's a big old tree. There's a human factor in all drone operation. And unfortunately, the human factor is what sometimes leads to mishaps like that. And these are other things that we want to avoid. We want people to do this, and we want them to do it safely. So, by the way, there is a psychological support page on Facebook. I encourage you to go check this out. It has the best videos and things that make your heart hurt a little bit if you happen to own one of these great devices. So, over the next few minutes, I'm going to talk about our drone program at the Division of Emergency Management, what we plan to use it for, some other applications within the emergency realm, and then we'll leave you with something cute. And at the very end, I will actually tell you how much fun they are to fly. So I don't like to start with that because people will think, oh, Joe just has a really great toy. No, there are real applications for this, but it happens to be great fun too. So this is ours. We bought the DJI Phantom. This is the Phantom 2. We are using ours with a GoPro attached to it. The DJI folks actually have a really good camera that comes, their proprietary camera, very good camera. It shoots 4K video now. On the professional versions, this GoPro also will shoot 4K video. So you can think, oh, that's a lot of data that people might want to be transmitting. Our whole entire package, which we were very thrilled about, was $2,200. $2,200 that will allow emergency responders to get an eye in the sky, to get a new perspective, to tell a new story. All of that information can really help inform what we call situational awareness and help other people have a common operating picture so everyone understands everything else. And we can make really good decisions in the first responder community, in the emergency management community. So yeah, that's its just beauty shot of it on my desk. And that's not my favorite way to look at it. My favorite way is when it's actually up in the air. There's a pretty lengthy process and a lot of hoops you have to jump through if you want to have a certificate of authorization from the FAA. We are still working on that process, and so I have to sometimes admit that yes, we have flown our drone without explicit approval from the FAA, but we felt the situations where it was really just expedient that we do that, and we worked with the local community in that case to have that permission at least and do it safely while we were there. We made sure the Civil Air Patrol was out of the way and that they were done with their mission and everything. But if you're interested to see what we do, right at dem.utah.gov, that's not the Democrats, that's the Division of Emergency Management. We get to explain that, especially during election season a lot. Right on our front page, we have our UAV program and reports section, just where when we bought the drone, our commissioner said, we need to be completely transparent with this. And I said, absolutely. And so it's right there. Everything that we do, every flight that we've made is logged on a Google sheet, and it's just posted right there. Anyone can click there and see what we've flown, when, how long, any issues, and those kinds of things, just in an effort to be completely transparent about what we're doing. We're also required to submit all of our reports through the Utah Criminal Justice Information System through the state of Utah. So there's an actual report that is generated every year and every May that is given to the state legislature so they can see, okay, what is the status of drones in public safety? For 2015, there was only one agency who reported any flights, and that was us. So I'm proud of that we were the only ones that reported flights, although we're pretty sure there are other public safety agencies out there that have flown but don't want to report theirs because they might not have the explicit permission yet. So that's there if anyone is interested. We also are trying to help other public safety agencies answer their questions about a drone program and how to do it well. Okay, so here's how, we'll play this in 1 second. We, a year ago, in September 2015, many of you guys are probably familiar with the devastating flash flood that happened in southern Utah. There were a total of 21 fatalities. 13 of them were in the city of Hilldale. We sent a team, lots of people went down there to respond, including a public information officer support team. And our goal was to help the mayors of Colorado City and Hilldale communicate effectively the information they needed to the public. They don't get a lot of swarms of media, national media particularly. We had CNN, Univision, plus all the local stations, plus everyone came from Phoenix and came from Las Vegas. So you had 3 states sending all of their local media to these towns that are traditionally very, very private. And because we support local government, we talked to the mayors and they said, look, here are a few things we can do. We helped them write press releases. We helped document what was going on through still photography. And I happened to take our Phantom down there with me. And I talked to the mayors and I said, look, is someone going to shoot this down if we fly this in your community? And they said, absolutely not. You have nothing to worry about here. In fact, if you'd be willing to, and you can play this now, if you'd be willing to fly the area where these 2 vehicles were swept away and where they traveled down this flood channel, we would be very, very grateful to have that. And so what you're going to see now is the this is a cut down version. The actual video is about 6 minutes long. It's on our YouTube channel, just to show the terrain, what happened. This is where Maxwell Wash, where the vehicles were actually swept over this into this wash. And the nice thing about this is some of these shots you could not get with a helicopter that would maybe cost $1,000 to $3,000 an hour to use. And we can get right down there very, very close. So we can fly from 400 feet above ground level to inches above ground level, just to be able to tell the story and show people, okay, look, this is what happened. I think the next one, shows right where the vehicles came to rest. This was the day after those vehicles were actually pulled out of the river, just to continue with that investigation. So it felt good to be able to support a community that just needed information. They just want to just have everything. So we actually provided about 16 gigabytes of photo and video to the 2 mayors of those cities. So thank you. We actually produced one other video that was a tribute to the first responders. It's also on our YouTube channel. That one was kind of fun and on the emotional side to put together, because you see all these people coming together to work. And we used a combination of aerial photography or video and still photography to tell that story. So let's talk about the rest of the applications the next couple minutes here. Some really cool stuff can be done with drones. And I had a chance to listen into a webinar that was put on by the International Association of Emergency Managers. And they talked about some of these things. So some of the slides you're going to see are ones that I've stolen from them. But it was pretty much public information anyway. So I'm using that with their permission. Our primary use of the Division of Emergency Management is going to be this disaster and emergency documentation. Telling that story, making sure that we have facts and data and actual pictures of things. One of the things we've learned when working with FEMA is that if you don't write it down, it didn't happen. So documentation for everything we do is very, very important. And you might ask, well, wait, but Joe, you're just one guy with a drone. And that's true. We're starting to find out that as more public safety agencies are purchasing drones of different styles and sizes and capabilities, we're envisioning where we can actually use a network of drones based in different areas throughout the state to use them as that documentation piece as well. And that is an idea that is in its infancy. We've had a few very small conversations about it, but that's something we expect to be doing in the future. And maybe there's even a potential for using private drones as well. So we'll see how that works. Okay, structural analysis, hazmat. Structural analysis is great for search and rescue teams to be able to get a bird's eye view of a building before they make entry. They can see kind of what areas might be more dangerous than others on a building. The nice thing is that you can have video streaming right back to a monitor or another device. We even saw that during the election yesterday. One of the news stations got one of their drones up just to show the magnitude of how many people were in voting lines. I think this is in Ohio or somewhere. And so we saw live broadcast, drone in the sky, and this very long line of people. Kind of cool to see that the world can be getting this information live if we have the right technology. And we'll talk about the rest of those in a second. So this is just a video, or not a video. It's clearly not moving. This is a photo from the emergency manager from Sevier County, a guy named Cody Barton. They had this hazmat incident, and he arrived on scene, took the drone with him, and got some pretty stunning shots. I think we've got 2 here. And all that white stuff is not the hazardous material. That's foam that is often put down just to mitigate any effects from the hazardous materials that might be in that incident. So Just really cool to have that, pictures that we don't ever really get to see unless a helicopter shows up. And now we can deploy these pictures and use them in public information to the media and the public on social media, et cetera, to say, look, here's what we're dealing with. And here's the cool capability that we have. Okay, Johnson County, Texas, May 2015. This was, that is not a video, I know, even though it has a little play button on there. It's a screenshot. This was a family that was stranded in their home by flash flooding. And if you can go Google this if you need to and see the video where there's just water surrounding this home. And what the first responders did is they flew, it looks like an Inspire, a DJI Inspire, over to them with this little lead guideline. And they unhooked that guideline, and on the other end of that was a more sturdy rope. So they pulled that rope over, fixed it to their house, and then the swiftwater rescue teams were able to paddle a boat over to the home and rescue this man and his wife. So pretty cool to just think, hey, let's just send a drone over with a little rope, and then we'll get the bigger one over soon. So really cool thing. Rio de Janeiro, and they're not the only ones that do this. The lifeguards can actually, some of these drones have the ability to drop a payload. And so if you're at the beach, why not drop a payload that's a life preserver, especially if someone is drowning? Get them that resource right away while the lifeguards are then on their way to help do the rescue. So kind of amazing things that are happening. This was another one from the webinar, and I'm not a huge technological person, so someone else here is probably going to know the answer to this. But what they talked about is this little device enables text messaging support in a local area. So they could get a drone up with this thing essentially rubber banded to it, and for 15 minutes or whatever the life of the battery is, which is about that 15 minutes, support text messaging in a local area. Or you get up on a pole or a building or something else like was discussed a little bit ago. So some really cool, this is not for phone calls, but text only. So pretty cool. Typhoon Haiyan in the Philippines, this team used a drone to do their damage assessment. And you can see they were able to take a lot of different views of the area that was damaged, and they stitched those all together just to help with the disaster assessment documentation, everything they needed to do. So that was for a team from Cal State Long Beach that went to the Philippines. In a couple other nations, we start to see that people want to find ways to disrupt drones that might be nuisance drones. So we're going to see the first one from Tokyo. Yeah, first one. Yeah, go ahead. They'll explain.
And for drone squads, they will help fight security risks posed by illegally flown devices. Civilian drones are banned in parts of the Japanese capital. The police drones will use 10-foot nets to capture flying objects and bring them to the ground. Officers will be trained in drone operations.
Love it.
For 10 minutes.
That's great.
Should be ready by next year. Just yank those.
So I want to be that guy that catches bad drones. I think that would be like the best job. Like, oh, you think you're so smart. We'll fly a much bigger drone. And then I don't know if any of you have heard of this story out of Denmark. This one is going to be in Danish, so I'm not going to translate, but I will tell you, well, you'll see what they're doing. You can go ahead and play that one. This one puts a smile on my face.
Drones zijn nauwelijks meer uit het luchtruim te denken. Of toch niet? Deze agent maakt korte metten met de drone. Hij is speciaal getraind om deze apparaten uit de lucht te vangen en ze naar een veilige plek te vervoeren.
De rolvolk ziet de drone eigenlijk als een nieuwe prooi.
That's where we say
Deze prooi naar een veilige locatie, naar voor hem veilige locatie te vervoeren. En dan
nature finds a way, right? Life finds a way. So they're training eagles to snatch drones out of the sky, which I also think is very delightful. Now, state of Utah does allow an incident commander to authorize the disabling or destruction of a drone that's a nuisance drone, especially if it's entering into an unauthorized area. The Division of Forestry, Fire, and State Lands has directed their officers currently, do not shoot drones down at all. And one of the reasons is because when bullets go up, they also come down, and you want to make sure that they're not coming down anywhere that you don't want them to. The other thing is jamming devices. Some of the larger ones jam communications for everything in the area, not just the one thing you want to. So I know there's some technology that can focus on the ability to jam a drone, but we haven't seen that deployed in Utah yet. So I will leave you with this because drones are also useful for search and rescue. You can outfit them with with what's called FLIR, which is essentially, what do you call that? Infrared, right? Infrared camera. In this case, this is not an infrared search and rescue, but drone swoops in, rescues puppy. Aww. So this officer was able to fly his drone around and located a lost dog in a nearby forest. So pretty cool. That was out of Philadelphia just this month. So anyway, that's it for me. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email. I'm happy to answer any questions that I can. So thank you very much.